fantasy team from falling off the track. Football is back, Jack. Whether on the ground or through the air, when the chips are down and you throw a prayer, when your team is primed and on the hunt, it's 4th and 10, you refuse to punt. When the shoulder pads and helmets crack, that's how you know that football is back, Jack. Let me hear you say, football is back, Jack. This high is wild and out of control, and we're gonna ride it every week till we reach the Super Bowl. Don't need no check downs, give me big hits and quarterbacks. If you say this game's the best, I'll say it's a gag. Football is back, Jack. Football is back, Jack. Football is back. Football is back, Jack.
Two spitting incidents in a week. I don't think America knows there have been 2 spitting incidents in sports. Or are there 3 spitting incidents? You guys are giving me a 3rd spitting incident?
Dan, there was a second spit on Thursday Night Football that we have identified. So 3, 2 in one game.
Dak started it.
Oh, hold on a second. I didn't even know about this. I was talking about Luis Suarez. I was talking about the Luis Suarez thing from Sunday that got missed because everybody was watching Notre Dame Miami, and Inter Miami didn't do anything about that. And the league didn't do anything about that. And I wonder what's going to happen to Jaylen Carter here. Now, I'm going to preface this. I make this mistake all the time. I'm going to preface this by saying, obviously, you shouldn't spit in anyone's face. And it's super strange to have it happen the way that it happened last night, where they haven't even played any football yet. But if you're going to start the season in a way that gets my interest, do it that way as a symbol, where Philadelphia and Dallas hate each other so much that Philadelphia's best defensive player is costing himself the game, the first game of the season, because he so badly wants everyone to know that that quarterback is someone I spit in your face. I spit in your face because I'm that kind of disrespectful.
Well, that's what it appeared happened. We later found out Dak spit first.
He started it.
Dak started it with a spit, so it was a retaliatory spit that led to the ejection.
Now, is there a difference between spitting at someone's feet, which is what Dak did? I don't believe Dak's spit reached him. It was just more of the disrespect.
There for sure is a difference between spitting at someone's feet and spitting in their face.
It's still an insult in some cultures, spitting at somebody's feet.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's not an
culture.
insult.
Dan, the images that we have online are pretty damaging. It's like Dak stepped up into the pocket and made sure that the Eagles players saw the disrespect by spitting at the ground. That is how, back in the old days, certainly in Looney Tunes, that people would display their lack of respect for somebody.
Jose Fernandez once led a benches clearing scuffle because he hit a home run and he spit as he was rounding third base, and Brian McCann took none too kindly
Fun
to
police.
that. Yeah, and then everybody cleared the benches and there was pushing around and all that stuff.
I'm actually kind of surprised that Brian McCann, he had a pretty good career in a difficult spot, a difficult position to play. It seems physically demanding. Had a pretty good career, and yet what I associate the name Brian McCann with is other people can't have fun, wants to be vigilant about protecting sportsmanship in a way that's really repressed. Is Jaylen Carter, because of the size of last night, because you're opening the season, is Jaylen Carter going to have this stick to him in a way that makes it the thing that people remember about him? Because Roberto Alomar, when I think of Roberto Alomar, he's a Hall of Fame baseball player. And the first thing I think of with Roberto Alomar is, that's the guy who spit in the face of an umpire. When you do something like this, Luis Suarez basically has had a majestic soccer career, but what I think of with him, it's multiple incidents, so it's not one, but I just think of bad behavior. Is this going to stick to Jaylen Carter that way? Because The spitting in the face is such a profound disrespect that I don't think that this is in any way going to be something that you find near Dak Prescott the rest of the way. But because Jaylen Carter got ejected from the game, because it was so strange where everybody's wondering to themselves, how the hell does the season start that way?
Dan, what are we doing already? You're ruining Football Fridays. You're doing Jaylen Carter legacy. Like, that game was awesome until the weather ruined everything. We had multiple fights, multiple spits. Everybody was scoring every drive. Beautiful passes. Jalen Hurts is running everywhere. Cowboys don't look that bad. So many talking points, but I did fall asleep once Mike Tirico said, like, we should be playing ball around 11:30.
You got to roll the dice there. Just keep the game going, no?
Yeah, I mean,
When do people don't get struck by lightning?
Just
Like,
a
what are we
minor
doing
league
here?
baseball game that one time.
I'll roll the dice.
I saw a video. I can't tell anymore what's real and what's AI, but I saw a video a couple of days ago. See if you guys can find it and tell me whether it's real or not, of somebody in the middle of a golf swing being hit by the golf swing being hit by lightning, and then that person just flying off of your screen.
That was Caddyshack.
Because, oh, that's what I was watching. That's right. It wasn't AI. It was a 1979 movie.
I was disappointed to learn that Dak kind of instigated it because he gave us an all-time. Can you believe this guy? To the ref when he spit on him, he gave like this, like, just played it so cool. Like, you'd think there'd be rage there. He just looked to his left. He's like, "Can you believe this guy just spit on me?" But it turns out he started it. That's why he played it so cool, because he was kind of expecting it because he knew he spit first.
Instead, he's just like taking a page out of Eddie Guerrero's playbook. Like, yeah, the referee's looking the other way. I'm the person that did it. Next thing you know, he's on the ground with a steel chair next to him. Like, DQ winner.
You said he was expecting it, and I thought you were going to say he was expectorating it, and that would have been shocking coming out of your mouth. But because of the way that you started, made me wonder, the way that you guys have framed the entire thing, if this was genius by Dak Prescott, like the ultimate game plan. The thing the quarterback doesn't want is pressure up the middle. The thing that guy provides more than anybody is on that team is pressure. And when you look at what Dak Prescott did at the very beginning of the game, after that spit lands on his face, he's got to be feeling pretty good about himself that he's just eliminated the thing that was among the most problematic things in the game plan headed into the game by getting him ejected by spitting at his feet. Like that part is sinister. If you're telling me Dak Prescott is that good at stoicism, that he could have planned that out. I know how to get Jaylen Carter. Watch how I disrespect him, and the retaliation is going to get him right out of the game.
Classic Eddie Guerrero. Yeah. You're only the second person that I ever heard use the term expectorating. The first being Gaston from Beauty and the Beast.
You've never heard that?
No, but I do know Gaston is especially good at it.
I came in here today, and Billy looks at me, and he says, "I think I'm on Team Ballmer now."
That's somewhat of a misrepresentation of what I said. I said, is it crazy that I think I might believe Steve Ballmer? I'm not. I'm
that is exactly what Dan presented to the audience.
No, it's a massive gulf that was jumped over.
You were much stronger in your conviction earlier.
No. This is an Evel Knievel-sized gulf that Dan has just leaped over.
This is fallacies and falsehoods again?
Listen, I'm just saying, I saw his interview, and I thought, you know what? This seems like a guy that could not know what's going on at any point in time. Like, I believe that he could actually be confused and just not know how $50 million of his ended up somewhere. Because, reminder, he's a multi-billionaire. So $50 million, while that is a lot of money to everyone, it's not to him. So, like, it would be kind of like if I had $5 in my pocket and then I found it in the dryer, like, 2 weeks later or whatever, and I was like, oh, I forgot I even had that $5. This guy was like, oh, trees out here, whatever, $50 million tax write-off, whatever, I don't care. And I was listening to him talk to Ramona. I was like, yeah, this guy seems confused about what's going on here. I think I might believe that he just doesn't know what's happening.
He could, even though he's been dubbed one of the greatest investors ever. He does pull off like, I don't know, bumbling idiot type of guy. But I'm on Team Ballmer now, too. For a complete...
I'm not ready to make that statement.
I am entrenched now, Team Ballmer, and it's not even so much for what you described, though I can follow your logic. I'm on Team Ballmer now because I'm decidedly after this episode, this navel-gazing episode, Dan, that he did with Mark Cuban. Let me play a clip, and if I will throw this out there to the audience. You will hear this clip. You will hear Pablo, who is having a moment and feeling himself almost rightfully so. But the way that he lands this clip will also get you on Team Ballmer.
He found somebody who would keep a deal for his most important player who he needed to pay above the salary cap to the tune of $28 million secret so successfully that he would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for me.
He hit him with that Scooby-Doo, Dan.
Oh,
He hit him with that Scooby-Doo.
I'm on Team Ballmer now.
That he
Yeah.
would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for me.
First of all, that should be a we. There are a lot of people working.
I was
on
gonna
that show.
say,
Yeah.
Pablo's acting like he's rummaging around in like garbage bins finding these things.
If it wasn't for me.
Not time to be, rubbing elbows at the Harvard Club if you're
If it
doing
wasn't for me.
journalism.
Did Steve Ballmer in the interview just, first of all, I don't think people know how hard it is to do what Pablo just did, and it's usually not worth it because it's really hard to find out these kinds of things, proves them, get them through legal, and it's really hard to get the sixth richest man in the world to scamper to wherever Ramona Shelburne is, whether that was Los Angeles or Bristol, Connecticut, but to tell everybody how mad and sad he is about this. But you guys would agree that in that interview, Ballmer looked like a serial killer many years removed from the crimes in jail. They found him after family DNA tests, and he is stoically giving the interview just physically on how it is that he looks. He looks like the interviews you've seen from jail from the guy who just has no remorse about all the terrible things that he's done to get in jail.
When he says if it wasn't for me, it gives off journalism. When I think journalism, and I this is more of a compliment than it's going to sound like to Pablo. When I think of what a journalist looks like, I think of Jim DeFeedy. Right. That's a journalist. That's someone who's given everything to his craft. And by the way, Lewis found the greatest photo of Jim DeFeedy that I've ever seen.
Yes.
Jim DeFeedy's a great journalist. There.
No, but that's thin DeFeedy.
When he's
yeah,
in
that's
the-
current. That's current right there. That's current.
Glass house, let Billy cook.
When Jim's
Whoa.
in the field,
Whoa.
that's not what he's looking like. He's got his sleeve rolled up to his forearm. He's getting to the bottom of these stories, Jim DeFeedy is, okay? Pablo's walking around with like a quarter zip on and some shoes with tigers on them probably, and it's like, okay. And he's like, I'm here to find out. It's like, oh, okay, Pablo.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for me.
Oh, and hitting him with the Scooby-Doo. Are you doing that just because Steve Ballmer does look like a villain that's under a mask in that cartoon?
While I believe he doesn't know what's going on, I also believe that should Pablo disappear, he's still like, I don't know what happened to that guy.
very
Who knows? What could have happened? I don't know.
How is Pablo's brand such that he makes the billionaire likable?
It was a curious choice, I thought, for Mark Cuban to do all of the things.
Oh,
that-
come on, guys.
That's not him in the field, but that's closer. That's Jim DeFeedy for those listening on the podcast.
Yeah.
Not flattering photo.
It's an old photo of Jim DeFeedy. I was not body shaming Jim DeFeedy before. I was just saying that the photo that I saw of Jim DeFeedy, as Billy described, a journalist that perhaps all of America might not know because he's a South Florida journalist.
Well, because journalists, you don't know. You know the story. Journalists don't make the story about them. Not that I'm making that comment about anyone.
But what you showed me about Jim DeFeedy, the picture that you guys just showed me, looked healthier than any Jim DeFeedy that I've seen, and so I was happy to see that today's Jim DeFeedy is thinner than yesterday's Jim DeFeedy. That's all I'm saying. That Jim DeFeedy is so good. Look, do you know how good you have to be at what it is that you're doing for television to allow heavy people to do their jobs? Like, I'm living proof. Don't look at me with judgment. I'm living proof. Don't look at me as if I don't know what I'm talking about here. I'm a fat pioneer.
Let Billy be funny with the Jim DeFeedy and we move on.
I wish, I wouldn't have mentioned Jim DeFeedy by name. I didn't want this to be like a Jim DeFeedy fest.
Let that be a lesson. Don't spackle with the funny.
Yeah.
Fat people wouldn't be on TV if it wasn't for me. I want to get to some of the Ballmer and Pablo stuff. Another episode dropped, and it's not another Pablo. It's just another episode of Pablo Torre Finds Out. He did not drop another Pablo. No, he didn't do one of those. He just talked to Mark Cuban, and they argued for an hour, but I was really curious as to why Mark Cuban would do any of that, because he's not as informed as Pablo on this subject. Pablo has done work here that is exhaustive. It's 7 months of work. These things are very difficult to do, and Mark Cuban just comes over with a parasol and says, why didn't you take the time to do this? And it made me wonder if he's projecting on, man, I don't want anybody looking in here in these spaces, and I want future deniability if people start looking in these spaces, because I know how it is basketball is able to be the business that it is. And this, what I'm about to say, when you hear me forever lamenting the stupidity of the salary cap, Juan Soto makes $750 million. That's what happens when you leave the owners to their own devices. That's what happens. If you don't think Mahomes and LeBron are worth what Juan Soto is worth.
You sound a little like Samson. Like
Yeah.
that.
Like, who
that's what happens.
cares?
Players actually get their value if you don't cap this sport. People are going to circumvent the salary cap. We've seen it happen before. We've seen it in that sport before. Hell, as Pablo pointed out on this episode, it happened to Mark Cuban as a result of the whole DeAndre Jordan's Clippers pursuit. Remember locking him in that office, putting the door there. It was a great moment in Twitter history. There was a car sponsorship that ended up getting the Clippers fined for that pursuit. So he was actually a victim of the Clippers circumnavigating some salary cap rules too. It does kind of feel like Mark Cuban, if you want to be sinister about it, was protecting the overall club that was the billionaire owner club.
Owners can't know everything is what he was fighting for.
But I was happy to discover that Mark Cuban, despite how we've talked about him on this week's shows, is still very much an owner of the Dallas Mavericks, owns a pretty large percentage at 27%.
I don't think you're trying to present it this way, but it's coming off very anti-player and players getting paid what they're worth. The way you're saying the salary cap's there to protect the owners. It's really there to punish the players. The players are really the ones that are the victims of the salary cap.
How am I coming out like I sound against the player? I'm saying the salary cap is a stupidity. I understand why it is the players would collectively bargain what they feel like is partnership that isn't partnership with their leagues. But the discrepancy I'm giving you there, that Juan Soto makes $750 million. Like, when I hit you with that in the face, go ahead. Tell me what LeBron...
You're positioning it as an irresponsible use of money.
We need a salary cap to protect the owners.
No.
That's
That's
what
paying
happens.
players like, look, Juan Soto, of all people, makes $750. We can't have that.
No,
we need to have billionaires.
I'm saying, okay, thank you for the correction if I miscommunicated. What I'm saying is the reason stuff like this happens is because the Ballmers of the world don't like confinements when they're competing, and competitive people will look in every crevice and every corner for where it is their advantages are. So if I legislate equality, what does Ballmer do? He buys the biggest staff he can buy, because there are no limits there on leadership positions. He does all sorts of things with his money to try and gain those advantages. And if I remove the salary cap, the way he would win that game is by being someone like Stevie Cohen is with the Mets, where he'll just make all the other owners mad at him because he gets whomever he wants. And so what you would see in basketball and football is LeBron and Patrick Mahomes making a lot more than Juan Soto. Can you guys just get me LeBron James's career earnings so that I know if LeBron James has indeed earned more than Juan Soto in his career? I would assume he'd earned at least that much, but maybe not.
So what you're saying is billionaires don't like regulations.
That is what I'm saying.
But also, who cares? Like, who cares if the billionaires go and spend a lot of money on the players and the players make more? Like, you're using Steve Cohen as an example. He spent a lot of money. It's been great for the players. It's been great for all of MLB because it raises, what the market is. And even in giving them all that money, the Mets aren't going to win the World Series this year, more likely than not. I mean, maybe they get hot, but it's not like they have this great advantage over everyone else. If anything, like the Dodgers is kind of nasty what they're doing, where they're paying Shohei $1 million a year, $2 million a year, and stretching that out over, the next 30 years, they're skirting around it worse than I think the Mets are doing. The Mets are just giving everyone their money up front, and if they're good, they're good, and if not, they're not. But everyone gets their money. So I don't see that. I don't think that the salary cap in the NBA is really leading to the parity that they're parading around that it is.
But I'm not, just to be clear, okay? I'm anti-salary cap. I want these owners spending so that the players get their actual worth. It's not what's happening. What they're doing, because they can't control themselves, they've built a system that allows for fixed costs because they can't control themselves. I don't want them to control themselves. I want the players making what Juan Soto is making because it removes the lie of we can't afford this. It removes everywhere the lie that sports isn't as profitable as it actually is. Basketball and football have restrictions on the players that make it so LeBron James made what, Jeremy, in his career?
Through 2025, he has made $528,695,302.
So think about that. Think that Juan Soto's contract, even if he doesn't play the last 5 years of it, even if he gets hurt today, if Juan Soto gets hurt today and never plays again, he makes $200 million more than LeBron made for a career that's 6 years longer than Juan Soto's contract. That's what I'm saying. That's stupid. It doesn't, and it's only because these Ballmers of the world, who might be decent at crisis management, but aren't great at controlling themselves when they're competing against other people who won't control themselves, and they want to win because they've got monster egos. Let's play here for people our famous Steve Ballmer clip that we've been playing for years since really I think this might have been the time that I was introduced to Steve Ballmer, because it's not like I was sitting here thinking about Microsoft at the time that this happened.
Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Ballmer! I have 4 words for you. I love this company. Yes!
That armpit stain. He did a good job in removing the cul-de-sac and going totally bald. He looks more like an executive these days than he did there. A little frumpy and early in the career, and now able to go on television and make us all Team Ballmer just because Pablo's out here saying all of this would have stayed secret if not for me. It's totally obnoxious, is it not? We all reacted to it the same way. I want to get back to the football from last night, and I don't know about you guys because Philadelphia beating Dallas isn't any kind of surprise. I suppose if you're going to be surprised is that Dallas was able to keep it close. But the starting of the season with the disrespect of let's spit back and forth in each other's faces. When you guys think of acts of disrespect that have been in sports or that you have seen video of or outside of sports, I learned, I don't know if you guys knew this at the time, that in some cultures, the throwing of a shoe at somebody is a sign of disrespect. And so the way that I learned that as an insult was when I watched George Bush, who really surprised me with his reflexes. Go ahead and play that for us if you can get it, please. George Bush with his reflexes, just very quickly avoided the throwing of shoes. When you guys think...
And had a similar smirk after to Dak of kind of like, can you believe this guy?
Have you guys, when you guys think of acts of disrespect that you have seen that have not resulted in any actual harm except to that American flag behind him, when you think of acts of disrespect, what rivals the spitting in the face? Because I can't believe that we have 2 of these incidents in 5 days. And by the way, Zaslow is saying much stronger than he said on he said on this show. After seeing the tweet from Inter Miami after Luis Suarez spit on a Seattle Sounders staffer's face, Inter Miami sent out the tweet. Inter Miami condemns the altercations that took place following the conclusion of the league's cup final. These actions do not reflect the values of our sport, and we remain committed to upholding the highest standards. Sportsmanship both on and off the pitch. We are working closely with Leagues Cup and MLS officials to ensure the situation is addressed appropriately. We thank our fans and community for their continued support. Zaslow says, Inter Miami is so full of shit. If you condemn the actions, notice they didn't even mention Suarez spitting, you suspend him. They don't actually condemn anything. This team is an embarrassment. And then he follows up with 4 days it took to condemn spitting in someone's face. Ridiculous team.
He ain't wrong.
And the league didn't do anything either, and I'm assuming it's just because nobody wants to piss off Messi, right? Like everybody, Messi's so powerful in that sport that no one wants to piss off Messi. Is there another good explanation for why it is that everyone would run scared? There's going to be discipline on Jaylen Carter. I mean, there was discipline on Jaylen Carter. He was immediately ejected from the game. I don't know if there's going to be more discipline on Jaylen Carter.
Well, in the absence of an actual statement from the league, you're left to theorize, and as many fans are, Inter Miami once again getting the benefit from MLS because no one wants to anger the biggest star in the league. That is a prevailing theory out there, and it's hard to dissuade people from that opinion when right now there isn't enough punitive measure.
Jalen Hurts said afterward of Jaylen Carter spitting, it's something we can learn from. When you're 3 years old, that's when you learn that. 2 years old. That's when you learn don't spit in somebody's face. Like, that's not something adults learn from.
We don't have video of it, but J.R. Smith threw soup at somebody.
I'd rather that. I'd rather have soup thrown at me than someone spit at me.
I don't know. Soup's hot unless it's like gazpacho or something.
It was a tortilla soup, I think we discovered.
Oh.
I think it's different also. I know we've covered this before, whether it's like frisbee thrown and like the bowl's coming at me or whether it's like shot put, the liquid leading the toss.
Also, the victim here was Damon Jones. Everyone found that funny.
Yeah.
Well, especially because we were picturing French onion soup and then the cheese was just landing on his shoulder or on his face. It was like just the
bread bowl.
Yeah. The game last night. You guys have thoughts on the particulars of the game? Because Philadelphia, they're defending champions. They're super physical. And I think that everyone thought Philadelphia was going to win the game. And I think everyone might have been surprised that the game was close, as if we'd forgotten that so many of the games in that sport are always close. It's one of the reasons that there's a salary cap to legislate the equality that protects the league so that no one gets too much better than anyone else.
I have plenty of thoughts. Number one, the game was awesome. It was an incredible start to the football season. Dak looks good, not just in form, but like he's lost some weight, and it looks like it'll help him. The A.J. Brown stuff is interesting. Also, Javonte Williams is always going to scare me as a Miami Hurricanes fan because I just remember him and Michael Carter running for like 300 yards each against Miami, so it's not a surprise to me that he's an effective runner for the Dallas Cowboys. I got super excited for the season, and I think that people started sleeping on Dallas. When the point was made on the pregame show that the issues, and yes, the defense was bad. You highlighted them when we were breaking down the Micah Parsons trade but the biggest issue that faces the Dallas Cowboys outside of the lack of postseason success is Dak Prescott's health. When Dak Prescott is a healthy quarterback for that team, they're a 12-win team routinely. And if he's healthy, and if he looks like he looked last night in moments before the weather got out of hand and impacted that game, Dallas is going to be in the conversation for the playoffs. It's just a fact. If he's healthy, they're that good.
I think people were still surprised last night because the Dallas offseason was a disaster and because of the other things that I've told you about the simplicity of if you're breaking down that Micah Parsons trade from whatever it is the logic of Jerry Jones as a football move, it's because your quarterback is in year 10 and the other teams in your division that are better than you have quarterbacks who are younger and cheaper and going to get better, whereas this is Dak's ceiling. Like, I don't know what Jaden Daniels' ceiling is, but it's a ceiling that you can expect improvement from with reps because he's played very little professional football, and Dak's in his 10th season, or is it his 11th season?
Jaden Daniels' ceiling is multiple-time MVP. He came in and changed the franchise. That was a joke of a franchise, and they made it to an NFC championship.
And Jalen Hurts is the one who actually won the division, won the sport last year.
Yeah, he outplayed Patrick Mahomes. He was a Super Bowl MVP. The talking point is, the lack of passing success, even though Jalen Hurts threw an absolute dime in that game. But Philadelphia is a weird team in that we all know their strength, and they effectively salt games away on the ground. So, especially after the weather turned, I'm not sure how much we can read into that.
I mean, in terms of like the money at quarterback too, Jalen Hurts makes like $50+ million also. The Giants obviously are spending a lot less on quarterback, but their team is not comparable to the Cowboys. It's really Jaden Daniels who has the advantage there in their division. But like the Giants right now are a non-factor, and they're going to end up paying a quarterback eventually anyways.
It's an interesting division, though, because the Giants know, even though there's a lot of name recognition in their room, and they have the hope of Jackson Dart that'll be a lifeline for when they inevitably struggle in the early season, they know that they're outgunned at that position, so their whole idea is, let's have Thibodeau and Abdul Carter just pin their ears back and go after the quarterback, and maybe we can have the best edge rushers in the league. And I actually do think that Tony mentioned it yesterday. Not many pass rushing defense is better than what you have in the New York Giants.
I love a pinning back of ears.
I love pinning those back.
Back.
It makes you faster, more aerodynamic.
Lance Stevenson blowing in LeBron's ear. Is that disrespectful?
I think we all thought that was just kind of weird.
Yeah.
Even LeBron just rolled his eyes and laughed at him.
That's Big 3 champion Lance Stevenson to you.
I really was surprised, I got to be honest, that LeBron James reacted so stoically to someone blowing in his face that way. And
Maybe he did it first. He played it cool, just like Dak.
Eddie Guerrero.
I got one. Brad Marchand licking Ryan Callahan's face.
He's our guy now, Roy.
He's our guy now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Chill.
Yeah.
Roy,
He may be a scumbag, but he's our scumbag.
I don't think that it can be a sign of disrespect if it can also be intimacy, although
In the middle of competition.
I'm just saying that licking someone's face, while disgusting and if not intimate and against their consent, also not very nice, not as disrespectful as spitting in their face.
There's saliva involved.
Some people are into that, though.
Yeah.
I will take the opportunity because you mentioned Panthers legend Brad Marchand, hero to a community, an iconic South Florida sports fan. Not many of these. We had Pin Guy, Marlins man, tries to very forcibly force his way into that conversation. Richard Molinari, the great Richard Molinari. There's been a lot of iconic sports fans down here in South Florida, and one of the GOATs, the fake Ric Flair from Panther games, and this guy's a Panther lifer. He was out there when David Booth was out there trying to convince people that he should get a call up to the national team. The fake Ric Flair has reportedly passed away, the source being multiple Facebook posts right now. If you ever went to a Panthers game, you know that they cut away to this fan, rally the troops, everybody would woo for him, was very friendly, would high-five everybody in that lower concourse, so it's sad to see an iconic Florida Panthers fan pass away. Rest in peace.
If we were to say most famous fans in South Florida history, if you go back to, you mentioned Rich Molinari, Dolphin Denny, does a mascot get to count as a fan if the fan has been turned into a mascot by the team, like Yama Yama at the University of Miami, where they're not actually a mascot, they're just such a huge fan that they become a mascot as just a fan? Who is is the most famous? Is it Marlins man? Who's the most famous fan in South Florida history? We can go through Dolphin Denny. We can go through Yama Yama.
Cutleridge Laz.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, he's Google it.
Yeah, the first word in Cutler is cut.
Hey, he's a fan. We're having this conversation.
What about that kid that lifted up his shirt and did like the little belly
Muscle
roll
Boy?
at the Marlins
No,
game?
different guy.
Oh, different little kid.
Different
Yeah, you
little
know
kid.
that kid. He
Yeah,
stuck
little
out his
kids.
tongue and was like,
Little kids, keep your clothes on, okay?
Yeah.
Cheap laugh.
My friend,
Develop a real comedy style, kid.
my friend Steve,
Yes, Chris's friend Steve.
Oh, yeah, Steve.
big Marlins fan.
Why would you guys agree with that? Why?
Dancing Tony. The
Oh,
Marlins
yeah,
game.
Chris's friend Steve. Is
Good
what-
teammate.
It's what they gave you of Yes and.
Yes
oh,
and.
yeah, your
Yeah.
friend Steve.
Steve. I'll take it. Everyone knows Steve.
Check out this week's episode of Mystery Crate. Mike Fuentes is really mean to a cat.
Yeah.
I'm not mean to a cat. The cat's just not an attractive cat.
Well, there you go. More of that.
so
What's
mean.
the hottest cat you've ever seen?
Ooh. So my friend Chase has one of these cats. I think it's like a Bengal cat or something, and it has stripes. It's a really expensive cat. No, I don't know exactly what
See,
it's
it's
called.
got to be expensive. You're just like money.
Weird.
That's all that
Yeah.
matters to you.
Well, he's a lawyer, so
A Bengal cat looks like a regular cat to me.
it does, but it has like
Look.
the cool like
Just a cat.
cheetah
Yeah,
type
just a cat.
patterns. No, but look at the coat.
I'm looking, man.
Yeah, it's just a cat.
No,
You should just
it's-
adopt
look at
a
the
stray
coat.
cat.
Yeah,
Why
you
would
should
you pay?
adopt
You
a
should
stray
never
cat.
pay
One-
a lot of money for a cat.
No, one
That's
time
a crazy move.
One time I was at FIU and there was this little cat. by the football stadium. There was like a metal shop back over there.
Rory.
Out here. Yeah. Well, not that one, but yes. But I also love Rory. But it had like, it was gray and black and had these blue eyes. And I was trying to get it to come to me. And if that cat would have came, that would have been my cat.
Wow.
But-
A Bengal cat looks more like a jaguar or like a
yeah, it has a pattern of a jaguar.
cheetah.
Is this a promo?
Jeremy being a cat guy, least surprising thing ever.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
come on.
I've made it abundantly clear. I love my cats, okay?
Yeah. Jeremy also gives us a breakdown of like ex-NYC mayors or
Yeah.
candidates.
Or
it's
future.
crazy. Or future.
We're breaking it down.
That's true. Now a mystery crate.
Check us out. This episode of the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz is presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Dominique Foxworth is going to spend the hour with us. We're going to go in and out of football. Maybe I can get him to argue with David Samson about what I was just saying about the salary cap, because I don't imagine that they agree on this. But before we get to Dominique, real quick, I want to go to David Samson because I want to ask him about that Ballmer interview, and he's more informed than most here when he's looked at all of these legal documents and he has read the fine print on what it is that Pablo's reporting is. So thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. And before we get to David's expertise on this, just tell me what your thoughts
Bad
are
judgment.
about the salary cap. I'm going to both of you here, bad
It's just
judgment.
bad judgment. You got an opportunity right here. You have a choice. You have a choice. There's some steak in front of you, and there's some day-old oatmeal. And you're like, hey guys, we're gonna get to the steak, but let's kick it off with a question for the oatmeal. Anyway, back to you, Dan.
The oatmeal.
What does that
Day
even
old.
mean?
Day-old oatmeal.
Are you talking about the story or are you talking about me?
Dan, go ahead. Do your show, buddy. Knock yourself out, big dog.
I'm not going to say a word until you answer that question. Are you calling the Pablo story with Ballmer the oatmeal because NFL football season started? Or are you calling you the steak and me the oatmeal?
If you have to ask who the oatmeal is, I got bad news, David.
I don't need to be here, Dan. Enjoy your time with Foxworth.
I'll let
honestly.
people figure it out. What
Dominique,
a
for what?
sensitive little man.
No,
Relax,
it's not that I'm
big dog.
sensitive. I'm
You are
tired.
sensitive.
Whatever, dude.
What are you
I'm
tired
not
of?
sensitive. It's ridiculous.
Are you
What are you
happy,
tired of?
Dan?
Ridiculous start to the show.
It's
in
a
my
great
opinion.
start. That's a great start. You know what is entertaining? Tension. You know what we got?
No, because I don't have tension. But steak.
What is this? This
yeah.
ain't tension?
No, this is
not?
idiocy.
We now turn
All right.
to our chief shitser to broker peace. Dan, make this right.
Well, we've got it. So, Chris, were you saying that if you don't know who the oatmeal is, then you're the oatmeal?
Bad job making it right.
Zagak.
David, you're super rich. Why do you put up with this?
You shouldn't be doing this. I agree. I'm on David's side.
I am
You should
too
not
here, kind
subject
of.
yourself to this.
Why put up with
nonsense.
David,
I was here 4 seconds and it was called oatmeal.
this?
Can we be
He said
nice
the
to our
story.
guests?
First of all, Dominique came here. No, look, you guys missed what actually happened. Dominique rolling in and telling me how to do my show. First of all, that's what just happened.
Who can't get better? Are you uncoachable now? I mean, I feel like everyone needs some coaching, right?
There's coaching
accountability.
There's
man.
coaching
We
in
gotta be
private, and there's
accountable.
coaching in public. And
I'm a football player, man. We do this shit in public. You get cooked, you get cooked. Everybody know you got burnt. We gotta sneak behind closed doors. I'm not afraid. Sometimes I mess up. We talk about messing up. Sometimes you mess up. We gotta talk about messing up. It's okay. Don't mean you're a bad person. It just mean you need a little coaching, baby.
I'm just
God,
saying
are
you
you
can,
angry?
you can dress up oatmeal. You can put
I
fruit
don't
in
like
it,
that.
maple syrup,
That's a great
brown
point.
sugar,
Brown sugar,
bananas,
some
apples,
raisins.
raisins.
In fact,
Oh,
right
no.
now, at this time, I'm more in the mood for oatmeal.
Yep.
Yeah,
Exactly. It's morning time. It was a compliment.
high in fiber.
We eat steak for breakfast.
We seem a long way removed from these days when David Samson jumped into Dominique's arms like a spider monkey and they enjoyed a long embrace. David, we're having you on because of the Ballmer interview and because you're informed. So tell me, what are the holes that can be poked in that Ballmer interview when he's coming out there and doing the public relations crisis move?
Well, you have to understand that there's two things happening. One, there is the criminal part of this, which is the fraud, which is the reason why there's a guilty plea by one of the co-founders of Aspiration. You do not want to talk about Aspiration publicly. You don't want to do anything where there is any sort of ongoing investigation. Very different than what the NBA is doing. That's an internal investigation where, yes, he could be suspended, he could be fined, but it's not criminal in any way. So he chooses ESPN instead of Pablo. He chooses Shelbourne Ramona instead of doing it with what I would call an area where there's going to be a serious journalist asking questions, because this was the biggest softball 16 minutes I've ever seen. She had an opportunity to ask him, I'm sorry, you introduced aspiration to Kawhi Leonard, and then that's the last you heard from either one of them, yet you invested $50 million in aspiration, yet Kawhi Leonard is your close friend player, and no other conversation took place? She didn't even ask him that. He just stated on the interview, yeah, introduced him. That's totally legal under the CBA, and that's it. That was the end of the story. That's a huge missed opportunity. And I don't know whether she had been given the questions or he had been given the questions.
David, she's a good journalist, but this is deep water. This is deep water stuff here. And Pablo's done 7 months of research. And yes,
but why would she agree to do it then? If you're not going to do it, she's a great journalist, but you're telling me you watched that 16 minutes and you said to yourself, wow, she really asked the tough questions?
No, I did not think that, but I think it's hard for people to ask the tough questions right now, given that everyone is really far behind on this story.
But when he says, you can just go by what he said in the interview, because he had talking points, obviously, from, it may have even been from the NBA. It's not a coincidence that he sat down with ESPN. It's not a coincidence that it happened yesterday, because he's had 2 statements now and 1 interview, and the NBA has an ongoing investigation. So if there's nothing going on, there is no reason to give any sort of interview. And the one he gave to me made it even worse. When he was asked, why did they give Kawhi so much money? A reasonable question that he should have been prepared to answer. His only answer was, I don't know how much money. Well, it's right there, and the Pablo Torre finds out it was $28 million. And so she said to him, hey, it's $28 million. And his answer was, yeah, I got conned also. So Kawhi and I together got scammed by scammers, but that was not and should not have been the point of the interview. The point should have been, hey, Steve, did you not communicate with Kawhi at all about what this was? But we never heard it.
What are the other holes in the interview worth noting?
I think that it's important to know that he said specifically that there's a lot of mystery around Kawhi Leonard. He doesn't speak much. So then my next question would have been, had I been sitting there, well then, Steve, why did a company invest $28 million in him to be a pitch person if he is a man of mystery who doesn't speak much? Doesn't it need to be the opposite? I found that to be surprising. Number 3, he said he has not spoken with Kawhi at all about this. That sounds a little bit like horse hockey to me, because when a player is owed money, and Dominique can speak to this once you get out your steak knife, if you are owed money, the player and the agent tend to call the team president or owner and say, excuse me, where's my money? I'm having a problem collecting from this company that you are an owner of. But there's been no conversation between the two of them. I'm not buying it at all.
Any other things that we should know? Because again, I want everyone to know that when you're talking about 3,000 documents and 7 months of work, there's a lot of stuff that David has gone through here. What else should have been asked last night that wasn't asked, and what are some things that Ballmer could do better as someone who knows what crisis management and public relations management has to look like?
Well, let me start with number 1. In statement 1 given to the PTFO episode when it aired, it said that he has information that will prove Pablo's allegations to be false. And Ramona said, well, provably false, that disappeared from statement 2. When they released another statement, they no longer included those words. So what is it that you had that was provably false? And Ballmer said, I have emails of introduction that I gave over to the government as part of discovery, as part of a criminal investigation. I gave them all the emails. All it is, hey, Aspiration, meet Kawhi. Hey, Kawhi, meet Aspiration. Well, that's not sufficient. What you could have followed up with, well, What else was part of the negotiation with Uncle Dennis that was not part of the discovery? Because remember, the government is not interested in salary cap circumvention. The government was interested in fraud. And that's not what Pablo is discussing vis-a-vis Kawhi and Steve. So instead of conflating the issues, we could separate them and then get Steve to answer questions. And what I would have advised him, Dan, is under no circumstances to speak with ESPN until you are more prepared and you've got to deal with Adam Silver as to what your punishment is going to be.
Dominique, do you have any thoughts here about the last 3 days that include Mark Cuban on Pablo Torre finds out this morning?
Lots of thoughts. So the first thought is David is fun, and I like David. And we worked really hard, and I thought David and I built a relationship that was more locker room adjacent. And like, you rib your friends. So David, I would like to extend an apology. I mean, no disrespect. You're a sweetheart, and oatmeal is freaking delicious. That aside,
and
healthy.
good for you.
And good for you. Like and steak, bad for your heart. Not too much steak. Oatmeal, it ain't bad for nothing. It's delicious. Add a
I
little
would
bit
love
of brown
to be your
sugar
brown
to that thing.
sugar, Dominique.
We're gonna be my brown sugar. Hold on. Now you go too far. Try to be your friend and try to make up with you, and you go too far. I feel like you're hitting on me, which
He
combine
does
that
call
with the
Paul
fact
Pierce
that
daddy.
combined with the fact that you koala'd me, like, yeah, I'm getting a little concerned. But fortunately, we're not in the same location. But as for the Kawhi Leonard story, there's a number of things that jump out to me. First, like, what is the burden of proof? Because I listened to Pablo's episode, and I've been reading the stuff that's coming out. And I think Pablo does a great job of building a case around a lot of, like, insinuation, which, like, it seems obvious to all of us, and we can go back through all the facts in his case, but there is no, like, smoking gun, like there's an email that says this. And I don't know what the burden of proof is for the NBA for these type of things. So that's the question. When they say provably false, that creates a burden for them that I think is much higher than they probably want, which is why it probably came out of it took out of future statements. But I think Pablo, there's not like an email that says this is what we're doing, which is hard for him. The other thing that is just hilarious is I love that Metalark is doing investigative research on no-show jobs as I look at Dan in a completely empty studio. Like, you guys are no-show job experts out there knocking it out the park. Look at lonely Danny. I love it.
I didn't have to work Fridays last year.
They're so much fun.
Also, can I say one more thing about that? Pablo, I get that Pablo's doing reporting, and a true journalist does not care who he takes down, but salary cap circumvention, kind of awesome. It's kind of great. The guys who are the most valuable and most talented have a unfair and illegal in most industries cap put on their wages, and finding a way to get them some money. I get that is breaking a rule, but some rules need to be broken.
You're saying that there was anything that Pablo had other than insinuation. I should point out that the salary cap circumvention came from all the sources within the company who went to Pablo, and one of them on the record in a modulated voice said, yeah, that's what we were told, that this $28 million completely out of market endorsement deal was for the purposes of salary cap circumvention. So it was not Pablo actually who made this up and tried to put pieces of a puzzle together using froggy DNA. It was the employees of the company.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not suggesting that Pablo's wrong, and I'm not suggesting that his story is not based in enough fact to go with. Like, I don't think that he would put himself at legal risk in that way. My point is that if anything is going to come out of this, I don't know what the NBA needs for proof, and I don't know if anyone is going to speak to the NBA after if the biggest, most damning evidence they have is someone in the company said it. I'm not sure that anybody in that company at this point, given what's happening, is interested, or, well, former company, I guess, is interested in stepping up and telling the NBA that, or even if that's enough to hold water. So I think it doesn't necessarily matter to Pablo if Ballmer or the Clippers are punished. It matters to the rest of the teams in the league. My only point is I'm not sure that something will come of this, because it's a little different if you're like, hey, like Pablo's previous reports had like real documents that had actual names and like explicit reasons for things happening. So I think that's I don't mean this as a criticism of Pablo. I just mean this as going forward, is anything going to come of it? That's what the question kind of floating around in my head is.
I think on Mark Cuban's show, on Pablo's show that it dropped, that I watched at 5 a.m., and I don't know why, Dan, you have him as head of Meadowlark, why he's dropping episodes at 5 a.m., although it's fantastic for me, but for those who are not, you and I actually are the only people I know watching it at 5 a.m. But that said, Cuban said something fascinating on that episode that's out right now, where he said, I'm Team Ballmer. However, if it's true, then I am Team Mavericks. I own 27% of the Mavericks, and they're done. The GM, any executives, Ballmer, and that would be great for the Mavericks. And Adam Silver's right now taking the temperature of 29 men, Cuban not amongst them,
exactly,
to figure out exactly how deep and far Adam Silver has to go.
I think that's the interesting part, too, is that we often misunderstand that like the league or the commissioner is in charge and running the show and like policing all of this. So many of the things that happen in pro sports like that we view as the league coming down on a team or owner or player or an organization or a partner. Like we view that as like the commissioner and this like faceless league is doing it. No. The people behind the scenes with the power are most of the time lobbying to support enough owners or enough powerful owners to get what they want to happen. And like we saw it often with like Deflategate and Bountygate and those sorts of things in the NFL. It seems like it's more of a reaction. And honestly, this like swing to more punitive punishments for players who were mixed up in any sort of allegations like that comes from the owners. And my guess is that if the decision to move forward with the Ballmer allegations in the past was not driven by the owners, the decision for what they will do now will be driven by the owners and how they feel about it and what they want done about it. But Ballmer happens to be one of the more powerful owners, so like that plays a part in the leverage, because what's going to happen is just like any political situation is you want your friends and you have to trade favors oftentimes to be able to get the things that you want. So if you are seen as the owner who's rallying support around some punishment for Ballmer, then when the things come up, when your organization gets in trouble or you want a rule changed or you want more revenue sharing, you're not going to be able to call on Ballmer to get that vote. So that's how a lot of times these things behind the scenes work, which I guess maybe I shouldn't be saying that. Maybe David, you disagree.
No, I think it's interesting when you're inside the room and you're talking about owner v. owner, you definitely have to think about revenue sharing. You think about who's got the power, but people often mistake rich for power. The richest owner in baseball when I entered was a guy named Carl Pohlad, who was the owner of the Minnesota Twins, a team that was going to be contracted. They didn't have a new ballpark at Target Field. They were playing at the Metrodome. So there's not necessarily a correlation. Steve Cohen, he could not, he's the richest owner in baseball. He couldn't get 23 votes together right now to do what he wants at all. So when you say that Steve Ballmer is the seventh richest guy, and I think Pablo corrected it, he's now 7. There's been some sort of downtick in Microsoft, I guess.
Loser.
But 7th richest guy, not the 6th. So at the end, he doesn't make him the most powerful owner because the power comes in packs. Right. And that's what the commissioner tries to protect against, is too many different packs and having any one of them be enough to block any sort of vote. So that's why Adam is going right now, figuring out, and he's annoyed with all this. And NBA executives have said internally that the NBA is furious about Pablo in this report because they're forced to scurry around and deal with the 29 owners on an issue they'd rather not talk about.
How do the other owners feel about Ballmer self-financing the stadium? Because like when that happened, I know we all as fans were like, cool, finally one of these guys who can afford it can pay for it. But my assumption would be the rest of the owners would be annoyed by creating that sort of expectation and frustrated, which would put Ballmer in a situation where he's costing these guys billions of dollars, which would make him probably not the most popular and not have the most power, and would have a group of owners salivating at the opportunity to stick it to him in this situation.
Yeah, I don't want to open up an old wound, Dominique, but I'll tell you, when we did Marlins Park deal, the other owners were not happy with it because it was not enough public money. And I know it's going to sound crazy to Mike and to Billy, But when the San Francisco Giants did a fully private stadium, the only reason they did that is that there was a threat to move to Tampa back then, and they needed Tampa as an expansion city, and there was no public money coming fast enough, and they had to get out of Candlestick. So they do not like private financing of buildings because it screws everything up. In the NFL, nobody does a new stadium in the NFL without public financing.
Yeah, I mean, I remember clearly from the CBA negotiations I participated in, it was when I got my eyes open to like how there are divisions and there is a political fight inside all of that. Is Jerry Jones was more upset with other owners than he was with players. He was one of the owners who wanted to get back on the field, and the things that he wanted more than anything was a requirement and an incentive for teams to generate more local revenue. And then like it all became kind of clear and crystallized to me is that it's no different than any other collection of people, that the power, it comes from some mass of opinions and group. Like no individual, to your point, the money isn't there, or the money itself isn't going to get you anything, just like in the rest of the world. Like the money isn't going to get you what you want. What will get you that is some contingents of people who are willing to sacrifice and make decisions and push for the things that you want. And the idea of them having to work in that way is, I don't know, entertaining. Dave, you should write a script about that.
You've written a script.
Not about that, though.
Billy's been trying to ask you guys a question for about 7 minutes.
No,
Billy, what do you got?
Is it funny? We need to be funny. Like, so this is Dan. I'm sorry to take over and pretend
Billy,
like
you were
I
trying to
know
ask a question. I'll take my show back here and ask you to ask the question.
Way to go. Grab them things, Dan.
Well, I was going to say, how crazy is it to think that the owners don't actually want Steve Ballmer to be disciplined here, right? Because once you kind of, even if he is proven to have been cheating against them, we're pretending like the rest of them are all clean, and they want people kind of looking into what they've been doing to potentially skirt the salary cap also. I would think the owners wouldn't really want him to be disciplined, even though he may or may not have cheated to get an upper hand against them.
I think they do, actually, because I think they will want him punished, and I think he's going to get punished because there's not only the fact that it's great to bring down the big guy. Baseball would do anything to find Stevie Cohn continuing to do the things in baseball that he did with his business that he got in trouble for. But when it comes to what Ballmer did, there's also the question of what amount of revenue may have been hidden from the books of the Clippers, which would change the finances and the money that's going between teams. We spent time, Billy, every day trying to sneak around and see whether the Yankees, Red Sox, Cubs, Cardinals, whether they were hiding revenue. And we would go. One of the reasons we go on the road with the team is you're looking around, you're keeping track of their signage behind the plate, outfield wall. You're looking at different promotions because you have a way to audit what revenue they're actually announcing as part of revenue sharing. So that part's real.
I'm sorry. The basketball union, when I worked there, like we had to audit basketball related revenue because they were like hiding money essentially. And we got a bunch of money back. It's something that you do on a regular basis. And you can think about, again, this Jerry Jones and Robert Kraft, the reporting that has Jerry Jones trying to keep Robert Kraft out of the Hall of Fame. I think some of the motivation is personal. Some of the motivation is professional. And my guess would be, there are a lot of different things driving teams. Some of it is making more money. Some of it is winning championships. My guess is that the small market teams definitely want to do something about this. They're probably also, that's like a voting block generally. And they are always trying to do something to be able to level the playing field because there's no other way that they can compete if you're going to circumvent the cap. And I think generally all the owners, even if they are doing this, they don't want to be doing this. They would like to be, if they've created the expectation amongst the greatest of players that there's going to be some sort of side deal, they would like to eliminate that expectation. My guess is because that's costing them more money. That's normally the driving force behind all the decisions that are made from the ownership and league side. Is like, how can we make more money? We want to play a game in Brazil? Hell yeah. This is going to help grow our game. We want to add another game to the end of the season? Sure. Do you want to reduce the salary cap? That's general. You want to motivate guys to have higher local revenue. Like that's normally a good starting place for the decision. Of course, emotional things might make you, because you hate another owner or whatever, that might make you make a different decision or you owe it to someone else. But generally, if they can find a way to get on the same page, it's always about reducing the overhead costs and putting more money in their pocket. So I'm guessing that's the starting point. If something else other than that happens, it's going to be for either some sort of personal reason, and I don't think it's fear that they'll get caught doing it also, because I think they want to stop.
So
and
Dominique,
they'd be happy for it to be over.
Dominique, it's interesting you talk about salary cap versus non-salary cap. What's not counted in the salary cap is what your off-court expenses are. And one of the ways that teams like the Clippers or teams like the Dodgers flex is they spend a tremendous amount of money. And I almost had the votes. You needed 23, didn't have it, but damn close to put a salary cap on off-field expenses within baseball front offices. Because what's happening is, and the Clippers are doing this, the Dodgers definitely do this, you're getting spent to death, and
Alabama
a lot of
does
the
it.
teams can't keep up.
Let me ask you guys this before I let you go. Again, Nothing Personal is the name of the podcast. David covers terrain that no one else in the podcast space is covering. I don't know how you guys feel about the general existence of a salary cap. I was saying before you came on here, it's asinine that Juan Soto is going to make $200 million more guaranteed, even though if he doesn't play another game today from injury than LeBron James made in a career that was 6 years longer. Tell me, David, how you feel about the salary cap, and Dominique, you chime in here wherever it is you disagree.
I think that the difference, you're comparing apples to oranges, and Juan Soto's a lot younger than LeBron James. And so you have to look at also times. There are players who played in the 80s and 90s who should have, in theory, by the way, look at the career earnings of Magic Johnson or Michael Jordan, and then compare to some of the schleppers in the NBA who will make more in their career than those
Again, how do
guys.
you feel about the salary cap as a concept? Baseball does not have one, and therefore its players get bigger guaranteed contracts.
I'm fine without a salary cap because I don't want a salary floor, and you can't have one without the other. And that's been the big problem within baseball.
I think that's a good point by David. And I think it's one of the risky things I think about getting engaged in any of these sort of arguments is that all of this stuff can be manipulated. Like there's tons of different levers. And when you focus on the salary cap itself as the only lever, there are other ways around it, because baseball is celebrated, and deservedly so, for being a very strong union that has fought off the salary cap. But they have found other ways to suppress the salaries, like by a division of revenue. I think the last time I saw it was probably like 6 to 8 years ago. Baseball players get a smaller percentage of total revenue than the other major sports, because Juan Soto and players like that get enormous contracts and have a disproportionate amount of power in the union. The salary cap is a thing that we all focus on, and I think baseball players celebrate, like, look at us, we fought off the salary cap again, while they are at like 40% of league revenue. And it's just like,
no, David loves
it's just
that.
the idea when you think about it, it's like, yeah, we got this. So in football, we think about it too. It's like free agency.
You got to get both, though. When you got the power of Mahomes or LeBron James, what you have to get is both no salary cap and not any of the other restrictions that are given away. Right. Because look at how David's sitting here smiling because he knows what the players were given. David knows how many negotiations he's gone into where they're like, oh, you want more Mike and Ikes in the clubhouse? Sure, we'll do that for you, and we're going to grab this $100 million over here when you're not looking.
And Dominique, I would hate to have you on the other side of any of these negotiations because you just did it. You actually put in words the exact thing that baseball union has not been able to put in words, where you put forward the salary cap. All right, we'll give up on that, but we'll take a debt service rule. We'll take a luxury tax threshold that's at $217 million. And we'll still only give you 46% of revenue, but it's up to us whatever number we want to get to.
And then you win the press conference every year when you sign somebody to a $200 million contract or $1 billion contract, and then we all are like, man, baseball's killing it. Then you look at it, and I mean, I felt the same way. I was researching to do an episode about free agency and the salary cap. I ended up not doing it yet. We might do it later, but it was just the point that we celebrate what we consider modern day free agency in the NFL and other sports, but free agency really does not exist in pro sports yet. We pretend as if it exists, but like all of these arbitrations, the draft, like in the franchise tag, like all of these things act against restricted free agency. They act against keeping you to true free agency, but we call it free agency and you guys call it free agency too. And we're all like, yeah, we're free agents. And in the back room, you're stuffing money in your pockets.
Well, it's not that. You're just not free. That I just want to be clear. It's not about stuffing money in the pockets. It's using the word free agency and go all the way back to Kurt Flood, do whatever you want. But make no mistake, there's nothing free about players.
David Samson, get out of here. Good talking to you. Nothing Personal is the name of the podcast. He's done a lot of good work with Pablo, and they have advanced. The story's been advanced here
steak.
on Pablo Torre Finds Out, which dropped at 5 o'clock this morning with Mark Cuban. Dominique, your thoughts last night from the game. Will that stick to Jaylen Carter? Will everything that happened there stick to him?
I don't think so. I think his interview after the game, he seemed to be much more in control of his emotions and behavior, and the way that he discussed it seemed to be fine. I think a lot of how we react to this is how we feel about a player before he does something like this and how he handles it. I think Jaylen Carter had moved to a place that he distanced himself from some of the issues that he had in college, and had become, the story about him was him being a great player. And then after the game, he handled it as well as I think you could handle a situation like that. So I don't think that it sticks to him. And honestly, there is a plausible, like the video of Dak, like there's a plausible defense for him. Not that it makes it right or that I believe that Dak was trying to spit on him, but I don't think that sticks to Jaylen Carter. He's going to dominate in the middle of that D-line for years to come, and we're not going to be like, he's the spit guy. Like, that's not going to stick to him in any way.
So there's some hyperbolic takes going on right now. One game sample, we were all hungry for football. So some of the narratives that are out there is CeeDee Lamb's drops hurting the Cowboys, and now everyone's kind of really putting that aspect of his game under a microscope. You have the lack of production from the wide receivers at Philadelphia, A.J. Brown being that talking point. And you also have Dak Prescott looking good, slimmed down, looking healthy, looking like Dallas can be better. Which of those three takes that are kind of running wild right now on social media are probably the most relevant and have the most juice to them?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Dak Prescott one is the most relevant. That was the hope, is that this team, only chance of winning is having two really effective receivers and a quarterback like Dak, who I think is one of those guys. I remember Tom Brady made the point not too long ago that the modern quarterbacks aren't like making decisions at the line. They aren't the classic Peyton Manning field general types. That's exactly what Dak Prescott is. Like, that's kind of what he does best. And he looked sharp last night. And it's funny how the stats can skew the performance, because he had like a 50-something QBR when I was like, no, Dak looked great. And Jalen Hurts had like a 98 QBR, which is insanely high. Not that he wasn't that good, but I thought Dak looked sharper than Jalen Hurts last night. So I think the Dak point, we know how high his ceiling can be, and we know that this defense is going to have some issues, but I think that will make this team competitive if he can stay healthy and he can be awesome all season long. As for the other ones, like CD had some drop issues last year, but I don't expect that to be a long-term lasting concern. And there are a couple other things that I think are interesting about this game that, to your point, we don't want to overreact. The Eagles lost a couple, like to the Bucks early last year. They lost another, I think, NFC South team early last year. And
they were bad at the start of the season.
Yeah, I mean, Kellen Moore did kind of reshape the offense after that Bucks loss. That was a transformative loss for their chances.
Dominique says, though, that I'll let you continue your point here. Please, staple it to what it is that you're saying here. I have a hard time with what the analysis of Jalen Hurts is, because when I watch him play, it's always going to be some form of 11 for 14 and it's a $150, and over the last couple of years, we've seen a lot of these quarterbacks are going for 150 yards because the game has changed, and he's got so much help that I have a hard time doing individual measurements with him.
Yeah, I mean, I think the idea of having to do individual measurements is like born of sports media in general, which is fine. It's something that we have to do, but it He's not playing tennis. Like, I switched over last night to the U.S. Open a little bit, and like, that's somebody out there all alone. Like, Jalen Hurts, it doesn't matter. As long as this team is built the way that they're built, then it's pretty clear that he's capable of operating this at a high level. And yesterday, it's his it feels like he's not listening to the noise, which I think is hard. And I mean that because a lot of players would take this as a challenge. They would enter the season. And honestly, I thought Jalen Hurts was going to enter this season and try to put up numbers to be able to say, like, I'm just like these other guys. But he's like, nah, it's third down. Or actually, he did on first down a bunch of times. It's first and 10. You guys going to play man, or you're not going to blitz me? I'm going to run it. I'm not looking to trick you into believing that I'm something that I don't have to be. And I will do that if it's called on me. Like we've seen him be able to win the game with his arm before, but it's a lot less risky to do it with your legs. And like, I guess I respect it. I don't enjoy it as much as I enjoy watching a more diverse style of quarterback play, but I respect it. And you know who probably don't like it? AJ Brown. Like it's gonna be it appears it might be a long year for my guy AJ Brown.
There's always something with AJ Brown. One thing's for sure though, both these teams seem fun to watch live. Those tickets are going to be highly in demand, Dominique. Yeah. And if you're like me, you like to travel the country and watch some great football with iconic brands. Hard to find tickets sometimes on the primary market, so you know where I turn to, Dominique? I turn to Game Time. I take the guesswork out of buying my NFL tickets with Game Time. Go ahead and download the app right now, Dominique. Create an account. Use code Dan for $20 off your first purchase, okay? That's code Dan. Terms apply. Swipe, tap, ticket, go.
As football season is here, Dominique, I want to ask you about something I've been parroting over the last couple of weeks since the Micah Parsons trade, where I'm saying if you are inclined to somehow try to figure out how Jerry Jones can defend this as a football move beyond run defense, we need to improve our run defense. The way that you make the argument on behalf of Jerry Jones trading Micah Parsons is he realizes that he's got an expensive quarterback in his 10th year who's not going to get better, and he's lost the division to cheaper quarterbacks who are younger, who may indeed get better in Jaden Daniels and Jalen Hurts. Mike pointed out earlier, Jalen Hurts not so cheap anymore, actually, but the point stands on you've got two in your division that are better than you, younger than you, and Dak is in his 10th season. Dak is good for 12 wins a season, but if you want to correct the gulf between you and them, you have to do something about the fact that Dak's not going to get any better than what it is you saw last night.
Yeah, I appreciate that you are trying to do this. Like, I got into an argument on Get Up because I was doing the same thing. After a full summer of saying, what is Jerry doing? Jerry's mishandling this. And then a week of us all saying, how did he blow this? This was such a bad trade. I was like, well, let's try to figure out how this would make sense. And everyone said I was stupid. But, like, you have to at least extend some benefit of the doubt to try to understand this. And like, I guess it was the Penix draft where I was kind of on the island where my point was, and that point was, you don't let Kirk Cousins keep you from drafting a franchise, which you believe could be a franchise-changing quarterback if it comes up. It's harder to make that same rationale around the Micah Parsons decision because you can always be critical of the return for a player of that value. However, the logic behind it, like, it kind of feels stable where it's this team went 12-5 for 3 years in a row and did not get close to winning a Super Bowl. If we are going to rebuild this team or we're going to win the Super Bowl soon, we're going to have to make some drastic changes. The problem is you wish that Jerry Jones would have made this decision in March and gotten a better price for it, but it doesn't change the fact that I understand the logic behind it. It's just the value that he got for it seemed like a mistake. And also, like, there was no, I'm happy that a player demanded a trade and got a trade, but also if he wasn't going to be out there, then you could have waited and tried to get more. But it's just being critical. It's one of the other things that's completely like difficult about having your GM and your owner be the same person is if this was about personal feelings, which a lot of people have said it is, between the GM and the player, that's why the owner's there, because he can show up and say, all right, I don't care about your feelings. This guy's a great football player. We're going to sign him.
We will talk to you again next week, and your studio looks nice.
Dude, we've been talking about it all day.
Your studio, you look nice.
You
there.
look great.
You look clean.
It's all right.
Sexy steak. Oh, man, David Samson, brown sugar.
Bye, guys.
says goodbye, sweet Clevelander.
I should tell the audience that we've got a bit of an emotional week, I would say, here this week as we are leaving this studio. It's been an eventful 2 years where the show has struggled and groaned under the weight of trying to build a business. And we're going to move into new studios. Everything is moving after, I think it's close to 10 years here. And we're going to remember some of the things from the Clevelander because as expensive as the property value has gotten around here, the neighborhood has really deteriorated. There has been...
so is my health.
There has been a lot of
but that's your fault.
Shootings here recently and assassinations, plural. And we need to get out of here. And next
that move is brought to you by Miller Lite. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces.
Next week is going to be a little bit difficult because we're going to be in the change. And these are not your problems. They are our problems. But we ask for yet more patience after 2 years of trying to build this thing. We're excited about getting into new studios. And we will remember the Clevelander throughout the rest of the week here, because one of the great memories I have, Stugotz, it really is one of my favorites as I've gotten late in life and have learned to appreciate some of this nonsense that we get to do every day, is the weekend before we were going to go on ESPN radio and start with whatever it is we were doing with them. They were going to make this studio look like all the other studios, which is just blue paneling behind us that would be nondescript. And my brother and I spent the entire weekend here putting all of this stuff up. And the reason that it's one of my favorite memories is because I remember the screaming phone calls on Monday when no one had been informed that that's what we would look like. And they didn't want us to look like that. Or no one had given them a heads up, I should say. It's not that they didn't want us to look like that. It's that they were going for homogenized at the beginning, and we put up all these tiles that we're at some point here going to just auction off because they've been here for 10 years representing us as we make a move to become a bigger business. We've got, Mike, do you know how many employees we have now? I don't know how many employees we have now.
I walked into to today's pre-production meeting, and I was a little stunned at how many people were in that room, considering it's just jarring seeing how we've started. And there was a lot of people here when we were doing HQ. It was even tighter back then in many respects because we had the equipment. But I think the stark contrast is from the pandemic days when ESPN would only allow you and me in these studios and people were zooming in. So maybe I'll have fonder memories when we get out of here, and I'll look back on some of the stuff that we did here and created here fondly. But I cannot wait to get out of this godforsaken building, thanks to Miller Lite.
Yeah.
Just 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces.
Winner
of 3 World Beer Cups. They don't just give those things away.
You have said that this place is haunted. You have come in hot from L.A. talking way too much about sponsorships and deals. We are moving. This is a growing business, and part that you left out was the answer to my question. How many employees do we have?
I don't know.
A lot.
Yeah, I don't know. Because there's a difference between full-time employees and part-time employees, but in terms of like people that are here, it seems like 87.
It's not here, but it's not just here, but it's a lot of people. It's much, much more than what's on air as we try to get up a video.
You would think the show would be a lot better.
You really would.
But it's only gotten worse.
Well, the solution to everything is hire more people, and then all it happens is more problems.
Well,
is what I've noticed.
Again, the deterioration of everybody's health.
Yes, that's part of what's
over
happening.
This show.
So do you have a top 5 nostalgic, syrupy memories instead of hauntings? Let's do some top 5 lists to celebrate our time here. 8 to 10 years, so Stugotz can be nostalgic, so that Roy can be nostalgic.
It's been 8 to 10 years for everybody else. It's been 20 to 30 for Stu.
Yeah, it has. It
all
really
in
has.
space, by the way.
Yeah.
Billy can get emotional here. Teach the young ones.
I don't want to leave.
What?
I revealed that today in the garage.
Billy said that to me. Yeah, I was having a heater in the garage.
He was talking to Cougs upstairs in the garage. I was walking down.
Who's Cougs?
Cougs.
Oh, you know.
Do you not want to? I am more worried about them finding a body underneath your desk than I am in Melreese.
I have a plastic container. I have to take all this stuff today, I was told. So
that's why you don't want to leave, because you got to clean up.
I like it here. I mean, downtown floods. I don't know if we're supposed to say we're going to downtown, but it floods there, and anytime it rains, I'm gonna have to get a boat or a kayak to get from my car.
Is it Judd Apatow sock puppets?
Chris Cody, I need a Hampton Farms Nuttiest Fan update. We had a competition between an Alabama fan shooting a middle finger and a loving couple that was making sex jokes. Who was the winner?
Thanks to Hampton Farms. Congrats to the Alabama fan. Shooting the bird. They are this week's Nuttiest Fan of the Week, presented by Hampton Farms. Get nutty with Hampton Farms, the official snack nut of the tailgate. And be sure to keep an eye out for Lucy at Iowa State this week if you think you are your team's Nuttiest Fan.
Billy was applauding there, even though I have found that Billy recently is anti-applause. There's been a turning. I don't know what happened here. I have loved The Rock since college. Like, I went to school with Dwayne Johnson. He was at the University of Miami at the same time that I was there, and he's always been charismatic and kind, and I feel like everyone loved The Rock there for about 30 years, and over the last few years, some things have changed where not everybody loves The Rock, but
he crossed Vin Diesel.
He got a 15-minute standing ovation the other day for what's the name of the new movie that he's in where you can't even recognize him. He's got so much makeup on that he looks like someone else. You wouldn't be able to tell from looking at Dwayne Johnson in his next movie that that's Dwayne Johnson.
The Smashing Machine.
Why did he get so what was the 15-minute standing ovation about? Was it just
his
that
performance?
What that movie was?
Well, I mean, these hoity-toity film festivals in Europe, they like to give 15-minute standing ovations. And so it was basically like someone got a 5-minute standing ovation like 20 years ago, and now it's just we got to be Tommy Toppers every time. But the Smashing Machine apparently is kind of right at the course. There were early screenings, and it was reported on that it was just kind of a weird experience. Everyone acknowledged that Dwayne Johnson had a great performance, but the rest of the movie was kind of making fun of the genre itself. It seems as though the editor got in the lab and took that personally, because now 100%, even though it's early, on Rotten Tomatoes, and it does seem, we already know that Dwayne Johnson has secured a starring role in a Martin Scorsese flick. This is how this goes.
He wants to win an Oscar. He's doing A24 stuff. He's trying to do A24 stuff because he wants to win an award as an Oscar.
He's also lost like 60 pounds recently.
He looks terrible. Oh, you heard that.
He looks terrible?
Well, I mean, compared to how he used to look, does he not look a little decrepit?
No, I think he looks fantastic. How old is he?
No.
Decrepit? He's my age. I went to school with him.
Yeah, he doesn't look great.
What?
Yeah.
He looks a lot better than
He doesn't
Dan.
look like The Rock anymore. We can't live in a world where The Rock wins an Oscar. Can we all agree on that?
Put it on the poll, Juju, at Le Batard Show. Can you live in a world where The Rock wins an Oscar?
I mean, he's having everybody wait for him on set for hours on end. Then he wins an Oscar. Imagine, what's next? And the 15-minute standing ovation is a bit much, right? By 14 minutes, a bit much. You don't need to stand and applaud. Nothing is that good.
I feel like after a minute, I got it.
Yeah, exactly right. That's just about the Venice fans and the Venice Film Festival more than it is about the actual movie and The Rock, is it not?
100%. Now, I know what you're worried about. Him winning an Oscar, the acceptance speech, it's got to be a circus.
Ugh.
Don't worry, he won't get to speak because Adrian Brody is still on that stage.
Do you actually think he's going to win an Oscar?
Dan, will this get you to watch an award show?
Put it on. Show. Is anything so good that it deserves a 15-minute standing ovation?
It's just annoying. And if you're even there, you have to be can we who's the person that sits first to end the 15 minutes?
At 7 minutes, somebody's
yeah, because how do you guys all decide? Okay, 15 minutes, we're fine. Let's sit now.
That's on Dwayne. It shows. Look, I like Dwayne. He's done a lot for the University of Miami. Big wrestling fan. Character of the man. You got to tell some people after 4 minutes. You're like, all right.
You just start leaving if you're The Rock.
Yeah,
start packing up your stuff. All
Please,
right.
I insist.
Good night,
With his
everyone.
glasses. Are they even real glasses? Do we even know if he's wearing real glasses? All of a sudden, the guy can't see. Get out of here. I don't like it. Leave glasses to the ocularly impaired.
Chris, that's a baller move to suggest that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson should have left 4 minutes into the ovation and seen if they still went the 11 minutes as he
Come back for an encore.
beat the traffic, just beat the traffic to get out of the whole thing. Just so you can give me some of the backstory on what this movie is, because A24 makes only good things. I shouldn't say only good things, but they are
Mostly. They're a tastemaker.
They're a remarkable studio, and the reason The Rock chose this story and this studio is because he's angling for, I want to show people something as the tide turns slightly on what was not 15 minutes of applause, 15 years of applause that The Rock has been getting.
And it's been about 15 years of trying to get this movie made for Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Remember when Stugotz was at the fight in Madison Square Garden, barefoot, standing next to The Rock?
He looks great there.
Barefoot.
Yeah, that was when The Rock said, hey, we're finally going to make this movie, and then 5 more years pass. I mean, look how different Stugotz looks.
Stu looked good then.
From that image. So this has been a passion project, and he's always known that he's capable of nailing this role, and by all indications, he has. And, I mean, he's worked very hard. He's not a bad actor by any stretch of the imagination. He's probably made some bad choices.
It's no Batista, let's be honest with you. And by the way, 15-minute standing ovation, that's nothing compared to wrestling crowds. He has to be this is the best that these people can do in Venice. This is so lame. It's a golf clapping.
That would have actually.
You have to pace
Did he do?
yourself.
If he stood on the back of his chair.
Yeah.
And started doing
the People's Champion thing. Now, famously, when he's been coming out to WWE crowds, he still gets goosebumps, and he makes the camera see his goosebumps. I wonder if he does that move at the Oscars.
I mean, did the crowd scream candy ass at him? No. What is he even seeking these people's approval? Wow. What range he has. He went from playing a wrestler to playing an MMA fighter with a fake wig or whatever he has on. Get out of here.
Dismissing a performance before you've seen it.
I will not see it. So don't think my opinion will change.
I'm already rolling my eyes at how long he's spent in the makeup chair every day.
Good Lord, enough.
Please get out of here, Billy. I know you have things to do. I know you have, I don't know if you're going to be interrogated by police, but they stopped you in an alley yesterday. And
yeah,
so
that is so.
You came in here.
I don't blame them.
Stressed. Why? What were you doing in an alley?
I was just on the phone, and I had a Bluetooth thing in my head, and I was just, wandering about in an alley, walking circles on the phone.
As one does.
Sometimes you just go for a walk, and you're in the middle of a conversation, and you lose track of where you are. You just start doing circles, and I realized I was in a closed-off alley, and 2 officers came up to me on a golf cart, and they're like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm good. Why? Why are you here? You're not. Were you meeting? What are you doing?
Were they
here?"
officers? On a golf cart?
Yeah, it's a weird vehicle.
That's a weird squad car.
They seemed to be officers. Maybe they were security guards, but they had security that was very
Was it one of those beach golf carts that can go out on the beach?
No,
little
no.
ATV action.
I could have probably outrun it, honestly.
So
but they're like,
are-
"What are you doing here?"
The visual
Sounds like these were mall cops.
Look, it was here, and I was
Surveillance
like,
footage?
"Guys,
Those are the MDC security
They
guards.
I was like, I work right
Those aren't
there. I'm
cops.
good. I had a backpack on. I'm like, they probably think that I
Not
don't know. I'm
cops.
up to no good. I'm a drug dealer. Who knows what they think is going on here? And
the visual of Billy just sprinting away from them.
I did no. They also kind of watched. I was like, no, I work at that building right there, and I noticed they did kind of follow me into the building. I don't blame them. Honestly, I kind of liked it. I was like, finally, someone thinks I'm dangerous. It was a rush. I felt like The Rock.
Get out of here. I know you have to leave early. We're doing more show than we usually do on Fridays. When Chris Cody did his Rock signature move there.
we go.
It reminded me of a story The Rock told on Highly Questionable. When I asked him, I had told the story, as I've told before, of Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant flying to Japan together, drinking the entire flight, and by the time they got into the ring to have the match, there was a point that Hulk Hogan got body slammed, and then Andre the Giant landed on him, and Hulk Hogan just shit himself in the yellow Hulkamania trunks because he was so embarrassed. And so I asked The Rock, what's your most embarrassing moment in wrestling? And he's like, well, I was on the top turnbuckle, and I had my fist up in the air, and when the pictures were taken, there was a boulder hanging out of the bottom of my trunks that represents one of my testicles.
Calling it a boulder's a move.
He's
One
the
of the
Rock.
Rocks.
He's the Rock. I mean,
He's the Rock. So
I couldn't get away with that.
Well, you're not called The Rock, Chris.
yes, you are not.
Some circles.
No.
No, there's zero circles.
Is
you
there a
you are
square?
called the circle.
Maybe a triangle.
You've been
My
called
wife
the
called-
circle more than the round.
My wife calls me her rock all the time.
Okay.
Oh, nice. It's nice to know.
Great turnaround.
That's great, Chris.
But we were talking about physique, and I saw your belly button though. By the way, when you did that thing, yeah. Let me tell you something. Did not deliver on expectations.
Mark Cuban is still going at Pablo. He's tweeted, "Pablo, come on. You only pushed your side in the promos. Nothing you said made your point. You took lots of information provided by scammers who negotiated with someone not connected with Ballmer and took them at face value. Just to be clear, still Team Ballmer."
Did Cuban listen to this episode at least because he was on it? Because he very clearly didn't listen to the last one because a lot of the ground that he covered was actually covered in the previous episode. But, there is a billionaires club, and those guys are in the same club. And while maybe the Mavericks would stand to gain from something bad happening to the Clippers, I think if you have this instance, like we alluded to earlier in the week when this Pablo bombshell came out, is Pablo. Imagine other owners are going to start getting a little nervous.
I just want to ask you guys one thing about consequences here. If it cost how many draft picks to get Kawhi to Los Angeles?
I believe it was 5 along with Shea and Danilo Gallinari.
That wasn't the Kawhi trade, right?
That's Paul George.
That was Paul
right?
George. That was the piece.
Yeah,
was
but
the whole
ultimately
thing.
that was the whole thing together, right?
Yeah,
because
but
ultimately,
Kawhi. I just want to be clear because we're positioning it as that was a Kawhi trade. Kawhi was a
let
free
me see
agent.
the specifics of
The
how
reason
Kawhi
I'm
got there.
asking you is just because the Clippers have gone from eternal laughingstock for decades to a team the last 5 to 10 years that has been vastly more relevant than it's ever been in franchise history. But when we go back on whatever it is that happens with the Kawhi Leonard and Paul George trades that or transactions that it took for the Clippers to become that, the Joe Smith salary cap fiasco in Minnesota, wasn't that 5 first-round picks?
5 first-rounders.
That cost 5 first-round picks for the promise not written anywhere on, hey, Joe, we'll get you on the contract next time. If this is proven, what is going to be the collateral damage on how many draft picks it costs the Clippers to just have Kawhi Leonard if the penalty for this is anything like what the Joe Smith penalty is, given that everyone says that this is worse, if it's proven, than Joe Smith. And Joe Smith, when David Stern was in charge, different animal, that was 5 first-round picks with Joe Smith and Glenn Taylor.
Yeah, and it was a point just made by Mike. Glenn Taylor was suspended for a year for that as well, but even Mark Cuban, who was just, going after Pablo for what's said in the promos, in the meat of this podcast, when he ultimately says, look, I don't believe that any of this is what you believe it is in terms of a smoking gun. If indeed it is true that this was all happening, it is way worse than what was going on with Joe Smith. He goes, he's done. It's over. They'll have everything revoked. I mean, if this is to be proven by the NBA that this is what was going on, the Clippers are going to be in trouble for, decades.
It's pretty interesting to think about what all of this might cost them when anyone watching or listening to all of that at the time, and OKC winning the championship last year, would have said, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, yes, I need to do that if I'm the Clippers every single time. And if we look back at this and see that it costs the MVP of the league, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and 10 first-round picks or 12 first-round picks because you already gave up 5 of them, and whatever picks they take from you, OKC's already got because of these trades.
It's already in conversation because you're coupling, understandably, the Kawhi Paul George thing because Kawhi flatly doesn't go there without Paul George. Yeah. It's already one of the more disastrous transactions in the history of sports. If the end result is they also circumnavigated the NBA salary cap, and who knows what happens to Steve Ballmer and that franchise, it is number 1 with a bullet, the worst transaction in the history of sports. And David Samson's off the hook for the Miguel Cabrera trade. So that's his angle to this whole thing. That's why he's sitting at that table, because he's like, man, I'm off the hook here.
Ooh, Pablo.
Should that be our new sounder when it's a Pablo?
Add some wind behind it.
Ooh, Pablo.
Something happened yesterday that I found curious, and it allows us for evermore to close our Amari Cooper file. We had Amari Cooper on one time, and when we had him on, he was still at Alabama at the time. This might sound like it was a whole interview. We had him on, and I'm pretty sure that he said one word in the entirety of the interview, that we didn't do anything else with this. I think we got in trouble at ESPN for this, right? They were mad that we kept teasing Amari Cooper's going to join us.
Yeah.
And then this was the entire interview.
This is the best receiver in college football. He's a Miami kid, and he's been that for a while. Not a Miami kid, but the best receiver in college football. Amari Cooper with us on ESPN Radio. He plays at Alabama. Thank you for joining us, Amari. Could you be in the NFL right now? What do you imagine you'd be doing in the NFL right now?
Just dominating.
Thank you for being on with us, Amari. We appreciate it.
So it was 2 words.
Thank you.
It, 4 words. Okay, it was 4 words. It was just dominating, and it was thank you. So we can close that file. But it was curious, right? Most players who hold out just don't want to go to training camp and don't want to do any of that. Amari Cooper went to the Raiders and did football things, and then he retires yesterday. And it was an unusual timing. Usually if a guy can get through training camp, he can muster what's needed to get to game 1. The guys who are thinking about retirement at Amari Cooper's age usually don't even get to training camp or get there the way Andrew Hawkins does for a couple of days and then says, you know what, I'm done with this. I can feel that I'm done with this.
It happened to Jerry Rice, too. He was getting through camp, and then he just decided, I'm not comfortable with the level that I'm playing at, and I don't want to do this to myself. I kind of saw John Oates give an interview on – everyone got excited, including myself, because Daryl Hall and John Oates, they didn't bury the hatchet. They settled their lawsuit, and the natural question is like, all right, are we going to see these boys in the Sphere? Hall and Oates reunion? Let's go. But John Oates gave an interview, and while he acknowledges that there are still issues between them, he's like, I'm not going to take shots at these other bands, but if I go out there and play this song and it just doesn't sound the way that it was intended, and it's a diluted version of this, I don't want to do that. I want the previous performances to speak for themselves, and I don't want people to remember us like that. I don't want to be one of these nostalgia acts. So maybe Amari Cooper's thinking that to himself. He's like, I made this team, but I'm not a big part of this offense, and Amari Cooper that's not dominating.
So you don't think there's going to be like an Oasis type situation with John Oates and Daryl Hall?
They hate each other. They really hate each other.
So there's definitely a hatchet.
I mean, they're so paired. There's so much money to be made. I was hoping so, but the added logic of I don't want to sound like that, the one that I've always hoped for that seems like there is never going to be any kind of reconciliation is the Smiths. Coachella famously, every year when Coachella has their blank slate and tries to set up their lineup, those guys are such huge Britpop guys. They're the biggest Smiths fans that there is. They always send out a blank check offer to Johnny Marr and Morrissey to bury the hatchet, and they never will. In fact, the news on this is Morrissey's like, I'm done with the false accusations about me. I am selling my 50% stake in the Smiths. Someone buy it from me. I want nothing to do with this brand.
Every time we talk about this, I say, get me the telephone number that is still live, because I called it like 3 weeks ago for that Hall & Oates number. What is it? It's Call & Oates.
Call & Oates.
There's a telephone number that you call and that you get a choice of what song to play. It's still out there. It has not died, because I legitimately called it for somebody 3 weeks ago. I want to get that number.
719-266-2837. Yes, it's in my contact list.
But the way that you said all of that made it seem like if John Oates went to Daryl Hall and asked for them to reunite, because Hall is viewed as the more talented one there, and I think he's got more disdain for Oates.
1, please press 1 to hear it go. Please press 2 to hear Manita. Please press 3 to hear Privatize. Please press 4.
Yeah, that's what I would have
Good
chosen
choice.
too. think that if Oates went to Hall right now and said, let's reunite, there's a lot of money to be made there. I think Hall would say, I can't go for that. No can do.
God damn it, Dan.
Why did you come
Lyrics
on Friday?
joke.
Why'd you do this to us?
Andy Garcia is going to join us.
Thank God.
Hold on a second. Let me see if I can find it on the machine so I can make fun of myself here. Andy Garcia is going to join us in a few minutes to argue with his son about the Miami Dolphins. I see Chris Cody is wearing his Miami Dolphins gear.
Game week, Dano.
You're expecting to win? You're expecting to be able to go on the road and win?
I would call this as important a first game as you could possibly have. The vibes are so weird right now that I just feel like if this game goes poorly, the whole season is going to go to shit. If they have a good game, we're going to have a good season. I literally think that their whole entire season just is going to be determined off the vibes of this game.
This is a must-win game.
We did that earlier in the week.
No,
Like,
Billy
I
and
think
Greg.
it is.
Billy and Greg have said this. Did you get that Big Mac stuff? Did you end up doing anything? Because I ended up talking to Big Mac in the carport about the Dolphins this season, and what he said was, if they win this game, he thinks they're going to go 15-2, and if they lose, the season's over.
Oh wow! So he agrees.
And as an impartial, I look at this game and I see a couple 8 and 9s cutting it up.
That's the argument I've been making to people when they tell me I think the
This
Dolphins
game sucks, bro.
It does. I'm not saying it's a great game, but
zero juice to this game.
No, but from a Dolphins fan perspective, there is. Like I know, like last night, the Cowboys, they lost that game. I feel like it's not all crumbling there. Whereas if the Dolphins lose, I just think it's so broken. Tyreek will go off, fly off the handle. It's an important game. It's as important as game one can be.
And my expectation is by game 6, you'll be saying this is as important of a game 6 as there can be because it could go either way because they're going to be hovering around exactly where they are right now, 500.
It's one of my favorite things that the lower half of the league does and the lower half of the league's fans do, where Dolphin fans are like, Colts aren't any good. And Colts fans are like, Dolphins aren't any good. They're looking at you like it's a mirror. It's the Spider-Man meme.
Yeah, we got to beat the Dolphins.
Like if the
Can it be we're saying we're average? They're kind of average too.
Mediocre.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to get you to admit, so I'm glad.
I never said that these are two good teams. I just do think that the Dolphins season can go in two directions, and I think that it's so fragile right now that a bad performance in this week 1 could
9-8 or 8-9.
That's
You're right.
That's what's on the line.
Two different directions.
That's what's on the line. Big one.
But Big Mac is saying that the two directions are 15-2 or 2-15.
He also told me this morning to let you know that he guaranteed the Eagles would win last night, and you can let Mr. Le Batard know
He did
that.
guarantee it, but man, I thought of him last night as that was happening. I'm like, that guarantee's not going to mean something here if CeeDee Lamb catches a couple of balls.
I had a fun interaction with him this week because he was kind of up away. Like sometimes he's out where I can walk right by him, and sometimes it's like a 50 feet away wave thing. And I was like, "What's up? What's up?" He goes, "Hey, what's up, Billy?" And like as I kept walking, he just like called me Billy, and then realized I'm not Billy, and then he just kind of tailed off.
He's gonna hear this.
No, I mean he knew it. Like that's like it was funny.
Did you guys have any thoughts on the report of Bill Belichick banning Patriots staff from North Carolina scouting and practices?
This is a mess. I'm so happy you won Gas Bag of the Week and none of that fell on me because I knew this was going to be bad from the start. This is a mess. And he's just got the weird girlfriend thing around, too. It's just all bad.
Speaking of messes, I meant to tell the audience and you guys of because some of these still after 20 years, I still leave here some days with a bit of a film on me on how it is that I could have been better and not fallen flat. And what we did yesterday with that Mickey Arison interview that didn't please anybody, because I assure you that the Heat weren't happy about that interview either. And I say that without even having talked to anybody about it. The amount of failure in that when we could have done a really good 5 minutes if we had just asked 40 super fast true or false and yes and no questions to actually abide by the 5-minute restriction. I have not been able for 24 hours to get any of that off me. I've still got it on me today, even though the football season has started. And even though Pablo's got like the biggest hit podcast that there is, not just in sports right now, like he is just crushing it. I've got to imagine The Athletic has never had anything downloaded the way that was downloaded, and that's your first episode. It's the first thing you're doing for them, and that's where you're placing the expectations. Very high-low feeling for me yesterday.
Yeah, we've heard confirmed, not sure exactly where it stacks, but one of the biggest podcasts in the history of The Athletic, which is saying a lot because David Ornstein's on that network. Like, there's been huge soccer stories, huge transfers.
But as a debut, though, to come out of the box with a story you've been holding for 7 months.
And you did that shit interview with Mickey Harrison.
Yeah.
I kind of thought it was perfect.
Yeah, I bet you would.
You really held his feet to the fire.
If I just snuck in a Saudi Arabia question, just one.